This week's episode is brought to you by Growth Drive and the C3D certification. If you're looking to expand your reach and relevance with business owning clients, whether you're a business advisor or a wealth advisor, this is a certification for you. And after completing it, you will understand how to make profits and transferable value, M&A price actionable, how to maximize results for your clients. So get the details at growthdrive.com/C3D, scan the QR code, register. Listen, this is the path to building a thriving advisory business based on delivering client wins. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. This is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. Growth Drive is the #1 best-selling business advising platform and so much more. Hey, listen, I am really excited. You know, we are a community. Growth Drive is a community of senior professionals, and we often receive fantastic suggestions and feedback from the community. And a growth driver, Eric Owen, sent me a suggestion, actually picked up the phone and called me. And Eric said, hey, man, how about if we had a 5-year calculated where we could pull the levers on a couple of different variables? And then he went on to explain what he meant. And I interpreted it in my own way. And Eric, I apologize. It's not exactly what you had suggested, but it's my take on it. And I hope it works for you. So what have we created? Why am I excited? Listen, if you go inside Clarity, Clarity is a very precise business strategic capacity and value analysis. Okay, it's being used by a whole wide range of different professionals, from exit planning, wealth advisors, fractional CFOs, CPAs, investment bankers, management consultants, business coaches, you know, a group of people that we collectively call growth advisors. And more to follow on that. Okay, so stay tuned. Growth advisors. Growth advisory is an emerging profession. How do we help clients increase, grow profits, cash flow, and transferable business value? So, what have we created? What have we now put into your arsenal? And you guys, you know, when we release new functionality, we don't increase our price. Now, we did just go through a price increase at the end of last year, but we don't increase the price for current users, and we just layer it in and let you have at it. So here's your first look. Imagine that you've sat with your client, CEO, and you've had a conversation about the strategic capacity of their business, and you've talked to them about, you know, how strong is their business? How does their business look to the private capital markets? And a shorthand, the private capital markets, if you were looking to transfer the value, to monetize the value of this business, an independent outside buyer, after completing due diligence, would be about 59% confident that this business could generate predictable and sustainable growing free cash flow, FCF, going into the future. So predictably and sustainably growing FCF going into the future. 59% confident. Well, that's cool. What else would we want to know? Well, hey, what impact does that have? You know that we start, our entire methodology starts with the growth conversation, which isn't in Clarity at all. And the growth conversation is hey, listen, Madam CEO, where's your life going? What does your life's work ultimately have to deliver for you and the people you care about, your family, your stakeholders, et cetera, your community? And that's why we created the Equity Value Planner, right? What is your desired income to support your lifestyle? Now, you've all seen this before. Very cool. And we run through a bunch of variables. And here, this is filled out for Diane Ridge, the CEO of Ridge Specialty Tooling, our teaching case. Stay tuned for C3D, guys. It's so close. And as we scroll through here, you can see that we can put in a whole bunch of variables. Now, the number of variables that you can control has an impact on a couple of areas. You go through, you go through these impacts. By the way, if you've never seen this, we'd be happy to give you a demo. And we've figured out that this business needs to have a target equity to support her lifestyle, right? Paying for her household, the others she supports, her charitable giving, et cetera, et cetera. She needs the equity value of the business in the fifth year to be $51 million. All right, which with revenue of 142.4. That's some growth, because this is a business that today, while successful at 54 million, needs to almost triple in size over 5 years. That is a gasp compound annual growth of 21%. Now, anyone who's grown a company, and this is without, here we're not contemplating acquisitions, right? This is organic growth. Whew, I'm going to have to take a deep breath. So you have two choices at this point. One, you can scroll up and start playing with years to hit, the multiple, the profit margin. The other thing we can do is just say, okay, well, let's take that as given. Let's just run some scenarios. Let's run some what ifs. What if, I was playing with this. That's why there's a value there. What if, Diane, we were to increase, so let me make this smaller. This is what you get for an ad hoc blog post on new functionality that I'm really excited about. So, we're zeros and everything stays flat across the line from this year through year 5. Hey, Diane, what if we increase, rather than up here where we're monkeying around with your margins and your multiple and we're manually doing, okay, if we can play with margins, do a whole lot of change up here, which goes to driving this pro forma. Before we do that, let's run some what ifs. Okay. Well, Diane, what if we focus on the business and we work on the business, and you have current strategic capacity of 59? What if we can increase your strategic capacity by 5% per year? All right. What impact will that have? Well, we go from a 59 to a 75. A 75 is a pretty sexy business, by the way. There is an exponential, and you've heard me talk about this before, an exponential delta between a business that's in the mid 50s and a business that's in the mid 70s. That is 20 points, but it is an order of magnitude jump in quality. Okay. By the way, if you're thinking about taking a business to market, you would better be at least a 70. 85 is where you really want to be. So, well, what impact will that have had on value? Now, notice I haven't changed. For this industry, value is calculated based on net income or EBITDA. No, they're not the same, but we're talking CEO speak here. So value is calculated based on net income. Your net income hasn't changed, with the value of your business by increasing strategic capacity, increasing the private capital market's confidence, has gone from 18 million to 23 million. Wow, I just made $5 million. Feeling pretty good. Well, Diane, you have a good record of growth. What if we can grow, let's go pedestrian. We can grow 10%. Well, what impact will that have had? Now, remember, we're up here and we've looked at this number like, wow, we need equity value of $51 million. Let's just wide lens, big wide fisheye lens. What if we can grow at 10%? Well, that doesn't quite get me there, right? We're going to increase your strategic capacity by 5% and your growth by 10%. Hey, let's take a sec here. Pause. Input 0 to 10%. Why did we limit it at 10%? Because it is not, there are always exceptions. I do not anticipate, and you should not commit to, increasing strategic capacity by more than 10% a year. It is hard. Okay, this is hard work. There is no easy button. It's straightforward. It's well understood. We have the tools to lead you there, to help you help your client deliver that win. But 10% is where you're going to max out. Same with growth. We limit the growth to 50%. Listen, if you're working with a business that's doing $1 million, is going to get to 2 million, they're probably not really a candidate for the kind of work we're talking about here. Now, if they're at 10 million and they want to, and they're going to get to, want to get to 20, if you tell them they're going to go from 10 to 15 in a year, a lot of magic has to happen, right? And you know what's going to have to happen? And this is something you need to cement in your brain. Get out that Sharpie again. Get your forearm out. I've given you a bunch of notes on that forearm. Put another one. When you increase strategic capacity, revenues will pop. They will pop. You can't help it. If they don't, there's something else that's very wrong with the business. Okay, so we're going to increase strategic capacity by 5% and grow by 10%. And I can hear Vern Harnish howling. 10% is not even table stakes, and he's right. There's no BHAG in a 10% growth, but sometimes it's hard to grow 10%. So 10% isn't going to get us there. Well, what if we increase, let's leave that here. And what, Diane, if we increase your strategic capacity by 10% and we grow it 10%? Now, 10% for most CEOs feels like a gimme. Like, well, I can grow 10% every year. I can do that. I can do it on a compound basis. Great. Now we're going, ooh, we are getting tantalizingly close to, what's that number again? 51 million. We're at 47.4. What if we just grow this puppy by 12%? Does that get us there? Look at that. Now, what have we created for our client? Imagine you're having this conversation with your client. What have we created? We have created an understanding that your expertise are relevant to, and you are demystifying the impact of growth and where to focus. Because if they only focus here, first of all, they're going to have to increase strategic capacity. But if I take that, look at that. They don't increase the how they do what they do. If they don't do it really any better, they just work harder and they grow 12% and they grind it out. They're not going to really impact value, the ultimate measure of business success. But let's say we're going to do this thing. And we're going to increase it by 10%. By the way, this tops out at 99. There's no perfect company. And somewhere in here, in years 3 and 4, there is a lot of very, very hard work being done to keep increasing strategic capacity. Can be done, though, especially once you have momentum. But I digress. So, all right, conclusion. We can go back up to the pro forma and we can play around with tax rates and professional services fees and margins. But right here, right now, we have had a very simple conversation about the impact that strategic capacity and growth have, or are predicted to have, more properly, are predicted to have on the transferable value of the business. You do a net, you do a discounted cash flow calculation of value and project it into the future. And frankly, and I'm going to swear, so put your fingers in your ears, that's just bullshit. If you are projecting growth using a DCF and you are not doing anything, and those of you using Biz Equity and Capitalize and other DCF-based tools, they are good tools. They calculate an accurate discounted cash flow calculation of value, and they can project it going into the future. But how do they make it actionable? How do they make it actionable? I want you to pick up one of those reports right now. And other than having a very well put together, very pretty, and accurate Biz Equity calculation value, Capitalize a scorecard, right? Hey, you're getting an A, B, C, D, and F. Great. What are we going to do about it? Hey, well, you want me to show you what we're going to do about it? How are we going to do this? Well, have you not been listening in? There is a ton you can do to get there. There is a ton. And if you want to hammer this point home about growing strategic capacity and the impact of strategic capacity and growing revenues on value, you can jump into the simulator. And in the simulator, we have exactly the same calculator down. Whoops, I'm in the wrong tab. We have exactly the same calculator. They're not connected at the bottom here. And you can run projections to your heart's content. But we were an equity value planner. So now if they're saying, okay, well, how do I increase strategic capacity? Right now, we've done level 1. I would say, well, let's go back to level 1. Let's look at your report and let's say, what's your low-hanging fruit? What is your low-hanging fruit? And now I'm still in an initial discovery meeting with the CEO. By the way, pause again. Pause number 2. Imagine your typical discovery meeting. Imagine the things you'd say, what you would show, how you would prove your relevance. And then imagine that same meeting if you said, hey, if we're going to understand if this business can meet your personal intent, which is a goal with an emotional commitment, your intended results, then we need to understand the business as an asset. Let's analyze that business. We do an analysis in the 24 growth driving objectives. Plus, we add a bonus for time to market, right? You go to market in a bad market, it's tough. In a great market, a little easier, a little higher multiple. So you're having this conversation, you're generating a report, and it's very straightforward. By the way, 24 questions, a few questions about the person you're talking to, what their goals are, some basic financial information. Any CEO that doesn't know this raises questions, and you generate an immediate report. The power of technology, of artificial intelligence, of analytics, bringing the private capital markets to a desktop near you. And imagine having this meeting, and we've said, hey, you've created an asset that's worth $30 million, but you can't monetize it all. And here's why. It's because of your strategic capacity. Okay. And then imagine saying, well, if that's not going to get you there, what is your business worth? It is currently worth, we could currently transfer it at 18. We are a long way away from 51 million, aren't we? Oh, well, what are we going to do about that? Well, let's see what the business needs to be worth. What's your lifestyle? Tax planning strategies, all sorts of opportunities pop up here. Okay. And when we scroll to the bottom, we get into, well, if you work with me and I increase your strategic capacity by 10% and you grow by 12%, then I'm going to click submit. So we cement these things in. There we go. How do you like me now? Because I know how to get you there. And how am I going to get you there? Isn't that where I started this, some would call it a tirade. Some would call it a soliloquy. We're going to get there by changing your answers. So, you're going to need to make the business completely not dependent on you. You're going to need to get your margins at or above the industry norms, right? Let's demystify it. We can just talk through this stuff. Here it is. Let's change your answer. Here's the best practice. And here's where you are. You can't really hire and train new employees. Well, what if we fix that? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And man, there's a lot in here. There are 10 modules. So we could spend the rest of the afternoon talking about this, or I could say, thank you. Please check out the new calculator that is in two places. It is at the bottom of the Equity Value Planner. So those of you who are subscribing at the biz dev level, you have access to this. And of course, those of you subscribing at the growth driver level have access to this. And those in the growth driver level also have access to it in the simulator, okay? Along with all of these great resources. You are able to power conversations. There is nothing like this on the market. Okay. Well, I think that's enough for now, don't you? Would love to discuss this with you. Get your feedback. You love it, hate it. Give me a call. We are easy to get hold of, easy to reach, and really easy to do business with. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will talk very soon. Be well.